What is a dying tradition you believe should be preserved? Whenever I travel, I love to send postcards to my young family members. Sometimes I go to an antique store and find vintage postcards from the area I'm visiting. I've gotten positive feedback. They all seem to think it's neat to get them. But recently I received one from a young family member, and it was a nice surprise. Harvest festivals. It really only works in small to medium agricultural towns, but it really grounds one to the seasons and agricultural production. Right now in Lodi, California, we are having the annual Lodi Grape Festival, themed after the wintergrapes harvest season, and it's been going for something like 60 years. Trick or treating. It seems like a lot of families today are opting for the convenience of trunk or treating, where everybody gets their cars and park in a cul-de-sac and hand out candy from their trunks. I've heard people call it safer, but honestly, walking around and seeing everyone's house decorations and costumes was the fun part, not just getting the candy. I think it's kind of sad that a lot of kids are missing out on the experience. This is disappointing. I took my daughter for the first time last year, and she absolutely loved it. To her it was so magical. I would never want this to stop. Local split-screen multiplayer on consoles. We all used to play 4-player split-screen on a 22-inch 480p. Now the screen is 4 times the size, we got 10 times the pixels, but no games to split on. What a fact! Not to mention the consoles are many times as powerful as previous ones. Competitive board games with family, it's a nice time to spend with them. Board games are going through a huge boost in popularity right now. They're going nowhere. Castles. No one builds a good castle anymore. I mean, sure, there are castle-like buildings, but not a good 11-foot thick wall of stone castle. This has always been on my "if I was insanely wealthy" list. I would build an honest-to-God castle in the same style as they did in the 12th century. RSVPing, saying you'll be somewhere and actually showing up, consistency, etc. I blame a lot of the rise of flakiness to cell phones. It's a lot easier to cancel last minute when you can reach someone who's already made it to your designated meeting place. Whereas before everyone had a phone, if you made plans, you pretty much had to be there unless you had a good reason not to, or were a complete dick. I mean, I still think flaking is a dick move, but it's way easier to do it nowadays. Been a while since we had a good gladiator match. I almost feel like death fights will happen again at some point in the future somewhere. MMA has been mainstream for a while, and eventually someone will want to push the envelope with something more brutal like MMA did back in the day with boxing. I doubt it will be straight-up death matches, but something crazier will definitely come around sooner or later. Sobremesa. That time at the end of a big dinner with friends and loved ones where you just sit around the table drinking wine and shooting the shit. Forget doing the dishes. Forget running off to go and do whatever. Just make some time to sit and spend time with people and enjoy some good dessert and a nice glass of whatever without getting drunk for the sake of it. My entire family does this except we brew a pot of coffee. It's like an unspoken thing after dinner that every has a cup of coffee and hangs out. I feel like every Hispanic family I know does this. I always hated it as a kid, but now it's nice to drink some good coffee and have a random conversation. Both the Puerto Rican and Italian sides of my family do this. We'll eat lunch, then generally sit around drinking slowly until we're drunk and hungry for dinner, at which time we serve a giant dinner, then sit around drinking more until we're ready for dessert coffee, at which point we eat and drink more. It's usually a 6 to 8 hour ordeal. Neither side has large gatherings like we used to, but we'll still come together whenever we can and eat and drink and be merry for the whole afternoon evening when we can. They drive me nuts, but once the food and alcohol kicks in, nobody really cares. Bringing flowers on a first date. It's so cheesy, but no one has ever brought me flowers. I have, however, received countless dick pics. We're told bringing flowers on a first date comes across as creepy and desperate. I actually gave a girl a bouquet of broccoli once with a note saying, "Here's hoping you have a nice day and are getting enough vitamin A." Drive-in movie theaters. Traditional, hand-drawn animation. A lot of the big animation studios claim it's too expensive and time-consuming, but if you look at their budgets and how long it can take to render CG animated films, then it's about the same difference. Yeah, I noticed when Disney shifted from traditional animation to CG. I really miss having traditionally animated films in the theater every year. Canning and preserving food. I grew up doing this, and it's something I still do. There's nothing like eating chili in the winter with tomato juice you made yourself, or eating homemade strawberry jelly. My friends didn't grow up in that lifestyle but enjoy when I bring them fresh jelly in the spring. This is actually making a comeback, not the Kardashians kind either. Lots of colleges and co-ops are offering classes in food preservation. And not just canning. My wife teaches a canning class. I teach an intro meat preservation class. Stores being closed on holidays. It's dead already, but was so much better. We treat retail workers like second-class citizens when we expect our stores to be open on holidays. Best part of working retail on holidays are when you're trying to close the store, which means that you have to stop people from coming into the store. Never had so many people tell me how, "You're ruining my Christmas by not letting me buy this thing at the last minute." Like, dude, we want to go home to our families too. That Irish one with the rings that indicate whether or not you're interested in dating anyone by the way you wear them. The claddagh ring. For those who don't know, it's a ring with two hands holding a heart. The idea being referenced is that the wearer would flip which way the heart was facing depending on if she had a special someone or not. I might have gotten this flipped if the ring was oriented so it looked like the hands were presenting the heart toward the fingertip, away from the wearer, then she is looking for love. If it was flipped, heart being presented to the wearer, she was already in love or spoken for. It's also just a cool design in general, and being a male in an Irish family, I was super disappointed that I wasn't allowed to wear rings. Cheat codes in video games. Very few video games have them anymore. I think the last really big game I played that had cheat codes was Saints Row 4. Please bring them back. They will never come back now that microtransactions are common practice. Handwritten letters. I'm not sad to see the greeting industry die. Fuck $6 for a fucking card, and I say this as a former Hallmark employee, but I wish it was more common to send handwritten letters. They're treasured in a way you can never treasure an email. Having something handwritten is also such a meaningful connection, and keepsake if needed. Fixed work weeks. I'm off on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I can plan things for those days. Every job I had before this would give me 2 days off every week, but I'd never know when they were going to be until the Sunday before. It's no way to live, and it doesn't make for happy employees. Physical texts, be it books or written letters, and games. Learning how to live off the land, all these survival foods you buy for hiking, camping, etc., might not always be available. I love watching Primitive Technology on YouTube because he shows how to live off the land without any modern tools. The only modern things in his videos are his shorts and the cameras recording the video. As much as I enjoy watching Primitive Technology, if something happens in society where we're back to building huts out of mud and rocks, I'm not sure if I want to make it, lol. That's what I think when there is talk about a zombie apocalypse. There's always people fighting tooth and nail to live. My brother is a big fan of a future zombie outbreak and got angry when I didn't get passionate about learning to survive. He asks, "What are you going to do when zombies happen?" I just said, "I'm going to die." He's 36, by the way. Home economics, as they used to call it. Learning the basics of cooking, baking, sewing, cleaning, and how to manage a household budget. They are useful and important things to know no matter who you are. I think genuine thank you cards for big events, weddings, are important. If I'm about to spend $200 plus, it's nice to hear that your presence was appreciated. In a similar vein, RSVPing for big events. Thanksgiving nowadays, people just consider it as the day before Black Friday. Fact, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. Food and football, what is better? And my parents host our whole family every year, 25-ish people. One of my aunts asked my dad to move dinner up so she can go get in line at some store. My dad laughed in her face and told her, "We are eating at this time. If you can't make it, tough shit, more leftovers for us." She chose shopping over the family and is now not invited this year. Enjoying things without having to show it off on social media. People used to do things for the sake of doing things, now it's just for their Instagram aesthetic. People still did that. When you visited, they'd get out the vacation photos, film strips, or the worst one of all, the slideshow. Not a dying one, but a dead one. Hats. When I was young, the mailmen wore one, police, fire, milkmen, I know, really old, nurses, even repair people wore hats. Business people wore fedoras. What I am getting at is in those days with uniforms, people immediately garnered respect because of the uniform. There was a standard that came with a sharp, well-maintained look. These days, one can hardly tell who is your bus driver or neurosurgeon. It seems the more casual we have become, the less respect we have for each other, simply because we don't see people in those societal roles, implying order. That is not a conservative observation. I am actually very liberal. I just think better defined roles made for a more respectful society. The 3.5mm headphone jack. What is a dying tradition you believe should be preserved? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.